Hello everyone, I'm Trafford Javaro and I'm here to talk to you guys about the worst coworker I've ever dealt with. So maybe you can learn from it and understand what I did wrong in the situation and what you could possibly do to prevent things from happening like this. Well, let's get started. On average, dealing with coworkers is actually the number 2 stressor in the workplace. Out of everything, your workload and trying to get things done on time, but just dealing with the people you work with is actually one of the most stressful, which is kind of a serious situation. So leading into that, my situation, about 3 years ago, I applied at a restaurant position, just working at an entry-level spot. But I worked really hard, dedicated myself to work and understand the business better. I rose up slowly, and eventually became the general manager. And with that spot, we had to hire an assistant manager to cover the things I couldn't do on my days off, or delegate the tasks to help make the workflow smoother. So when we hired that manager, the owner was friends with a manager at another restaurant he owned, and this employee was their brother. So he's like, "Oh yeah, you're a manager at this restaurant. You got a brother. He could probably manage this one." Well, there were some good things and some bad things about this employee. They came in, looked good. They made good first impressions, and they caught on quickly, learned what they were supposed to do. I taught them everything I knew, tried to tell them what was needed from them, and I let them on their own for a couple weeks. Things were doing well-ish, but then I just started to see that a lot of things really weren't getting done. Just daily hassles weren't getting completed, like simply cleaning things right, cleaning the glass, cleaning the floors. There wouldn't be right inventory. I would call in and say, "Do we have everything we needed for the next week?" He would say yes. I'd get to work, and we would be totally out of something, and I had to go get it. Then, after a couple weeks later, I had a meeting with him, told him, "Hey, this is just some things that we cannot be happening in this situation," and I think he understood. He changed some certain ways and got a lot better. I think it boosted his little intelligence, and when he moved forward, right after that, I noticed things were getting done really well. I was like, wow, this is really good improvement. And that kept going for about 2 or 3 months until I noticed that there was some coming problems again. I think first there was a role conflict. He saw what I was doing and how I had the power. I made the schedules and I made the decisions and calls and the promotion deals and everything. And he thought that was unfair. He was doing all the same stuff as me, and why didn't he get to do that power? And it was kind of that conflict between each other, thinking, oh, he's always right, when he didn't actually look at the long-term situation of what effects had. And which then came into equity distress, because he saw him doing all these tasks, and why can't he do something else if he has the power above other employees? Why he's not getting paid to do more, he's not getting the power to do more, but really he was above other employees' payment, and he was just filling that position. He wasn't needed to be running the whole operation. He was kind of in that second, third in command spot, but he just thought what he was doing deserved a lot more money and power. Then after he started this problem, we tried to talk about the issues and where he stood, but the business was expanding and I had to leave to another location about 45 minutes away in Ocean City. So I left working there, and I was managing the new location and had to hire a new task force and run that capability. So he was left on his own. Well, leaving him on his own brought in a couple problems, because when he was there, he eventually just started hiring only people he liked, and he would let go of people he didn't like, even though they were really hard, dedicated workers, but simply because he didn't like them, and he let them go very unprofessionally, just not scheduling them. And then when they called, they didn't have a job anymore. And I don't know how the owner let this happen. I guess he didn't have a confident grasp on his business. He has a lot of other businesses, I know, but he trusted that person. And that led to, honestly, abusive supervision, which is a serious thing. And I think, honestly, the demise of that business, because nobody's going to want to work for a person who is power hungry and doesn't do what he's told. He just sits there and has other people do his work for him, and he just can't run a business very well. Well, coming to the end of that, some improvements to help that solution. What the owner could have done, probably made more random check-ins. I did a couple random check-ins. That's how I found out what was going on, because when he worked with me, he seemed like a very good individual. But I noticed when I went to check in, he wouldn't even wear his uniform. His hat would be backwards. That just gives a bad image and looks bad on the customers, what we look like to them. But by having more random check-ins, the owner could have saw what was really going on. I also think he needed to be more hard and have less freedom for certain employees. He was a very nice, kind guy, but people kind of took advantage of that and kept going with it and seeing how far they could go, because they had a job and they were happy and they could just do what they wanted. Personally, what I think I could have done better, probably should have had a personal meeting with the owner and the individual. He thought highly of them because he kind of knew them personally. And whenever I told something about him, he was like, oh, he's just learning the ways. But I think if we sat down all together and maybe talked things out, he could have understood what was really going on there. And another thing I probably could have done is done quarterly reviews and maybe a 360 feedback, having the other employees tell us, the managers, what we were doing right, and maybe have him rate me to see what I was doing better and what he didn't like about me, and see what the people under him didn't like about him. Because from my understanding, he didn't do much and told them that they had to do the daily duties because it was their job. He was just there to manage, which personally I don't think that's a very proper way to run a business. And eventually he got a second chance working at another business owned by the owner when that restaurant closed for the winter. But he was directly under a manager, and he quit because he couldn't take on the commands, and he didn't like the constant arguing of you have to do this, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to do things his way, and that just wasn't going to work for him, so he left. So obviously I think this individual is a problem that could not be fixed. Now, maybe in the future, if he got really hard on him and finally broke through that hard-headed skull, maybe they could get to him, but I don't think that he sees any change anytime soon. And kind of concluding that, employees are our number one asset in a business, and if we don't have strong employees to help promote that business, to help build each other up and build your business up, then I don't think that you're going to have a successful task force or a successful business per se, because each employee is crucial. It's like a chain. If that one link that's weak, everyone else is going to have to bring up that workload. It's going to break and things just won't run smoothly. Hopefully you can learn from this situation, and hopefully this doesn't happen to you in the future, and maybe you would know how to handle it better. Thank you for your time.